How to see Orion, the king of spring, his two dogs, a unicorn, and twins in the sky. Welcome back, everyone, and hi there to you if you're new. In this piece, we're going to focus our alternative astronomy lens next on the spring equinox sky in the Northern Hemisphere, as there are so many beautiful and truly wondrous things to see there. So happy spring to you, or what some of our ancient ancestors celebrated as the New Year. That is until we change the way we keep a calendar, but more on that later. In this piece, we're going to be identifying 6 different star constellations that are huge stars in this bringing in of the spring show in the sky. Now, the spring equinox is opposite of what we've already looked at with the fall equinox. So if you need to catch up, just check that video out. This, remember, is where the sun now is going to cross back to our area of the world, bringing with the sun being closer, longer, and warmer days with it here in the Northern Hemisphere. This is also, remember, equinox means equal day to nighttime hours. So approximately the same length of day to nighttime hours is what we see here again on the spring equinox. Now, in this piece, we're going to be looking for Orion the Hunter, his 2 dogs, Canis Major and Canis Minor, or the big and the little dogs, Monoceros the Unicorn, Gemini the twins, and Auriga the Charioteer. So let's start with one of the most famous star constellations because it's so easy to find in the night sky, Orion the Hunter. Let's find him first, and in the meantime, find out also why we call him the King of Spring. Throughout the entire month of March in the Northern Hemisphere, you're going to find Orion the Hunter right in the middle of that special cross of the north-south meridian line and the arc of the ecliptic, moving little by little, night over night, to the west, starting the hour after the sun sets. Now, by the spring equinox, you will find Orion to the west side of the special cross, in the middle of what we call the real all-seeing eye in the sky, found by facing due south and looking up above the horizon into the sky. Orion is so easy to find because of the abundance of very bright stars in this very large constellation that does resemble what our ancient ancestors saw in this constellation, a hunter and a man. Orion's 3 belt stars are usually the easiest to locate first, and because Betelgeuse, Orion's very bright yellowish shoulder star, and Rigel, his foot star there, are some of the brightest stars in the night sky, this entire constellation is very easy to find, just to the east of Taurus the Bull, that we've already learned to find, and just below Taurus. We've been talking a whole lot about Orion and his story in our private videos, and we will continue to talk about him there and here in our beginner videos, because as we'll learn more and more about it as we go, Orion is the man of so many famous shows for many reasons, as we'll see, just like this one, the spring equinox time of year, where Orion is taking center stage as the king of spring. Now, every king, as you know, wears a crown, and Orion is no different. So speaking of Taurus, since we've already learned how to find that constellation, and by the way, if you're new here and you need to catch up on some of the things that we've already learned, like finding Taurus, as I mentioned, we have a few playlists here on the channel that you can take a look at and easily catch up on anything if you need to. So if you follow Taurus's horns there, you see that one of those horns is connected to the next constellation that we're looking for, called Auriga. Now, it's not often that we're going to see 2 different star constellations share a star between them, and this is the first time that we're looking at here. As you can see, we see that with Taurus and Auriga sharing a star in common. Now, there's another thing that these 2 constellations share, and even though it's been there the whole time, even what we think of as the smartest of all experts in many realms of study, they've all been blind to this. Coincidentally, the same theme of blindness we'll see show up when we look more into the myths of Orion in the future. But there it is, right here. Auriga, let's start there, is an easy-to-find constellation connected to Taurus and located above Orion's head. So if you first look for the very bright top stars of the constellation of Auriga, that will make it easier to find. Now combine both the constellation of Auriga with Taurus, and the way that they're shaped Can you see the crown shape in Auriga, complete with the points around a crown like you see in Taurus's shape? So when you combine those shapes of Auriga and Taurus in the spring equinox sky above Orion's head, you can see why we're calling Orion the King of Spring, with Auriga and Taurus as his crown, lighting up the night sky the hour after sunset. Now we're going to look a little to the east, or to your left when looking up, from where we find Orion's crown of Taurus and Auriga, and just above Orion's shoulder, if you look for Gemini's very bright two head stars, Castor and Pollux, you should have no problem finding these twins. Gemini will be found right in the middle of the cross of the north-south meridian line and the arc of the ecliptic during the spring equinox, or what our ancient ancestors used to celebrate as New Year. Gemini also have big roles to play in many famous stories that we'll be looking into in the future pieces as well. But look at the end of Gemini's eastward pointing hand. Now that's again your left when looking up. You'll find the very bright star called Procyon, and it's likely the only star that you'll be able to find in the very tiny constellation of Canis Minor, or the little dog in the night sky. And that brings us to the brightest star that we see in the night sky, the dog star called Sirius. And if you find that, that will help you locate Canis Major, or the big dog in the night sky. Sirius is a gorgeous bluish star that you will find near the special cross of the north-south meridian line and the arc of the ecliptic, just lower to the horizon, and found to the east, that's your left, of Orion's east-facing leg. Now when I look at Sirius within Canis Major, Sirius is so big and so bright, it looks very much like what our ancient ancestors called a wandering star. We nowadays hear of them called planets. Sirius is so big and bright, it looks like a planet to me. Sirius also shares something else in common with Gemini the twins, as we'll get more into in future pieces, and that is that Sirius's alignment here right in the middle of the north-south meridian line during this time of the spring equinox, or what many of our ancient ancestors celebrated as New Year, and also the New Year that we celebrate on the calendar today. Now, all of the star constellations that we've looked at so far in this piece are some of the easiest constellations to identify in the Northern Hemisphere sky due to their abundance of bright stars within them. And that makes spring such a great time to do some serious stargazing. Pun totally intended. But in all seriousness, okay, I couldn't resist, but all right. The spring nighttime sky show is truly spectacular. And let's end this one then with a little bit more of a difficult to identify star constellation. But see, with the help of what we've already learned with all of these very bright and easy to identify constellations, it will make Monoceros, or the unicorn in the sky, easier to find. As you see here from this image, you will find the dimmer constellation of Monoceros, or the unicorn, crossing over the north-south meridian line above Canis Major, or the star Sirius, and just below Canis Minor, or the star Procyon, to the east or your left of Orion. Let us know down in the comments how many of these spectacular star constellations that are here bringing in the spring season that you're able to identify when you step out the hour after the sun sets this spring equinox. Some of the information from this piece comes from our book series Constellations by Campfire for the spring season. This series of books helps even the complete beginner be able to identify the star constellations of the Northern Hemisphere sky by season of the year with full-page star maps. We have all 4 seasons available at our website, starsnearme.com, and there you'll also find many of the designs featured in our videos as well. All the links will be down in the description, and until next time, stay lit and be well.